This mic is threatening to jump off my pants because my waist is so slim. Could you please play the video? Everybody should have laughed at that.
As we look forward to new challenges, we look up towards these mountains. Not with fear, but with an urge to climb. This is what it means to be a soldier in America's First Corps. We keep pushing forward across more land, and we get after the mountains.
I'm glad folks clapped. That's the first time I've seen that video as well. Listen, I want to tell you all that I am so enthused about being here with you today. I'd like to thank Major General Klein, Command Sergeant Major McMurdy, distinguished general officers, and of course our SMA for being here today. So please give yourselves a round of applause because it wasn't like this last year. If yesterday is any indication, I want to dissuade you of a couple facts right up front. This will not be a 1-minute pitch. It's going to be a little bit longer than that. But what I want you to also understand that this is your 45 minutes. That's just the time that I've been allotted to speak to you today. But it's your 45 minutes. So when we move to question and answer, I would expect that you have some questions of me. I don't have all the answers, but the people that have the answers are in this room today. So I pray that you all still take time, not just to get around to the exhibits, but to take time to talk to someone who you don't know, that's working in the same space that you're working in. And if nothing else, I want you to come away from this discussion that I'm going to have with you today, knowing that I'm absolutely passionate about H2F and what it means for our soldiers. As General Klein said, it demonstrates our care for the individuals. The stuff doesn't matter if the people aren't there. The stuff doesn't matter if the people are not ready. The stuff does not matter if the folks that are supposed to operate these new, wonderful capabilities don't understand that they're part of the capacity of the things which we've designed to do our jobs better. That's what H2F does. I guess I should have started with good morning. I am so happy again to participate today. My first thought as I walked up here and listened to General Klein give I love you, JD, for this short bio. The longer ones start to sound like obituaries, and when you get to be 56, you're like, hey, cut that off. I only have so much time left. There's only so much green light and altitude that I have on this place. But my first thought was don't trip, because that step reminds me of something that I saw in the Thor 3 facility after a year ago. I came out of a hip surgery, full replacement, 2 months short of a year right now. And so that's part of my story, which I'll share with you later. But again, this is your 45 minutes. And again, I believe in the promise of H2F. And I know that it's going to take every person in this room and the units and companies and contracts that we represent to help H2F be all that it can be. I will also warn you that in order to survive this next 45 minutes, you're going to have to dig deep into your reserve, your well of H2F. So again, hopefully you did something physical this morning. And I think probably the most important thing I can tell you is I hope you slept enough last night so that you don't sleep while I'm talking. And I hope that you ate something so your stomach doesn't growl in this great auditorium and folks start pointing at you. But I also hope that your spirit's strong, because I want to share with you, and I need you to hear the things that I'm going to say to you, because it absolutely matters. It's important that we're here today to talk about certain things. And again, I told you I'll give you some of the what and the who we are. Before we get to questions, I ask that you anticipate the fact that I will share with you my H2F journey. The things that we need and demand from our folks in the Army are why we have H2F. We can equip them not just with the weapons and tactics, but we have to give them the comprehensive tools to equip them with strength and stamina and fortitude and grit. H2F can do that. Because our soldiers right now are facing the most significant operational environments and operations of all times. We've got peer competitors and near peer competitors right now. And our Army is changing how we do business, and we are changing it in order to compete in this new reality. Our adversaries are also changing. The Army Modernization Strategy describes how the total Army, which includes the active duty, the National Guard, the reserves, and our Army civilians, will continue to evolve into a multi-domain force. This evolution will ensure our Army can meet its charge as part of the joint force to provide for the defense of the United States. H2F, in my mind, is an answer to the question, what about us? It's a question that our people ask every day. What about us? Current and future warfare is evolving, and so must our Army. Our next wars will be fought in environments where we're denied freedom of movement in the land, the air, and the sea, but we'll also be forced to compete in cyber, in EW, and all the way across space and the electromagnetic spectrum. Every domain will be contested. Competing or competition will require us to develop a competitive advantage and to use that advantage almost asymmetrically. That advantage for us is our people. The Army, since the Revolution, has always been about our people. And when we think about the challenges to come for our nation, it can sound a bit scary. But I would tell you that's also why we need to emphasize the importance of not only the modernization of our equipment, which is absolutely necessary, and our tactics. You know, our Army has an operating concept of multi-domain operations, but we've also got to modernize our people. We'll continue to focus resources in updating our equipment, our weapons, and our training, but our people in the next fight are going to be absolutely critical. And that's what we're really here to talk about these next few days. Our Army is a human endeavor. Our soldiers are our greatest strength and our most formidable tool for our nation's defense. Our Army is and has always been there for the nation. The Army's also always been an organization that's centered on its people. Our people are the Army's platform. War, too, is a lethal clash of wills and an inherently human effort that requires resolve and at times sacrifice. So we need our people to be ready. The ability to endure the physical hardships, the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situations that our soldiers are faced with every day require an Army that's absolutely committed and focused on the welfare of our people. Holistic health and fitness fulfills that promise, the promise of our desire to keep people first. It's a contract between those who serve and those who lead them, both civilian and military. It's an opportunity for us to demonstrate every day at 6:30, and sometimes at 5 o'clock in the morning, or sometimes late in the evening. Hey man, we care about you. We need you ready for this next giddy up. That's what we can do to ensure that our soldiers are ready at a moment's notice to deploy, fight, win, and not just survive, but to thrive in any environment we might put them in. H2F, though, is about more than preparing our soldiers to survive the rigors of combat. It makes our people the true priority. H2F recognizes that more programs don't make a healthier force. It recognizes that we've got to get the right programs to our people. It recognizes that the delivery is just as important as the product itself. H2F recognizes that this capability is absolutely necessary for the entirety of our force, across every component. We have to have this. H2F also assures our nation that we'll steward carefully the resources that they've laid at our feet for all intents and purposes to be used in defense of the nation. You can't support the Constitution of the United States against all enemies if you're not there to do it. H2F can get us there. As a senior mission commander on Joint Base Lewis McChord, I know that different units are at different stages of implementing and being resourced the H2F capability. I call upon our leaders every day to find new and unique ways to extend that to those without coverage. And to do within the means and capabilities, and truthfully the capacities that are available within our Corps, to ensure that all our soldiers have a means of achieving or receiving the H2F benefits. Every soldier should not have to worry about what tier they're in. Every soldier shouldn't be queried when they come to the facility, are you tier 1 or tier 2? I just tell folks, just tell them you're tier 1 and keep it moving. If you act like you should be there, you're going to be just fine. But we've got to get this in our people. Our people should have access to H2F so that they can continue to be all that they can be. The intent would be to take some of those smaller units or units further in the fielding plan and partner them with larger units with deeper resources. This partnering of units would allow for cross-pollination of H2F capabilities. It would also further go to demonstrate our care across the components. My mother, who's a school teacher, would probably get mad at me, but I'll call this a poor paraphrase of Rudyard Kipling in his poem If, and say that we have to demonstrate that all men matter. All men matter. We can't have tiers with this. It's got to go to everybody, JD. And we can't wait. JBLM has often been considered, my words, a wellspring of innovation and modernization. First Corps is the home of the Stryker Brigades. Stryker, which started out as an interim platform to provide a medium weight capability, if you will. They're still here and they're still there, and we're still continuing to develop that platform and the soldiers that count on it to get them to work every day. We hope that Joint Base Lewis McChord might be the holistic health and fitness innovation ground. And part of us making it that way is me saying so. Another part of that is you all coming out and see what we're doing there. Because I don't know that we've got it exactly right. I know our hearts are in the right place, but I don't know if we've gotten it absolutely right or as good as it could be for our soldiers. JBLM is the current home to the second largest concentration of H2F resource brigades. 1st and 2nd Stryker Brigade Combat Teams, 16th Combat Aviation Brigade, 17th Field Artillery Brigade, 62nd Medical Brigade, Triple Nickel Engineer Brigade, and the 42nd MP Brigade. Our Corps remains committed to supporting the H2F system as the Army's primary investment in soldier readiness, lethality, optimal physical, emotional, and spiritual performance, reduced injury rates, and improved rehabilitation after injury. These things all equal resilience. The magic of the system, though, is really in the resources and the education. It's the fact that our Army would invest so much to give our people nutritional, mental, and spiritual fitness tools to better them right now. There is a host of different programs across the Army right now, all meant to enable soldiers to get to the X. But without the hub that H2F provides, that's the magic of the system. H2F provides a hub. I'll show you a little bit what one of our brigades is doing with something called Project Odyssey, which brings all 5 domains of H2F into one single building. And everybody can't get that, but I think even with that brigade, the magic is the fact that their soldiers have access to all these tools to improve the soldiers' lives. I've shown this system to congressmen and senators. I've shown it to the Chief of Staff of the Army, and I'll show it to the SMA when he comes out to see us early this summer. But these are the things that we've got to do to ensure that we're making the most out of this, because it is absolutely critical that we get it right. Adopting a holistic approach to health and fitness and increasing predictability are two things that our enterprise level leaders have done to help the Army. And in advance of my good friend Tom Soljum, who I believe, Steve Peck, is he going to be here? Okay. He'll talk to you about some spiritual fitness aspects, but I also believe that those things should not be overlooked as well. And I want you to understand that I'm not here proselytizing. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm telling you is that we've got to ingrain in our people this sense that there's something bigger than them, that they pursue with vigor every day. And if you've ever been on a long run and been just a little bit out of shape, you've had that spiritual encounter out on that run where you said, I don't want to fall out of this formation. I need to be with these people. And if we can ingrain in our soldiers this desire to not fall out of the formation, that's spiritual. It's whatever human principles that they'll follow, whatever religious principles they'll follow. What we have to do is get them to the next operation. And we can't satisfy ourselves with sending someone to a building when we need to send them to people. Leaders have to lead. And woe unto all of us if we allow H2F to become like every other thing where we say, go over there. There are places we do that. None of us are lawyers. I'm married to a lawyer. We send people to the JAG office because we don't expect our leaders to do law. We expect them to administer the Uniform Code of Military Justice. But we expect them to lead. And H2F does not relieve you of the need to lead your formation. And I'll say this again because I see the green suits out there. H2F doesn't relieve us of any of our responsibilities. It's a tool that enhances our responsibilities. That's what we can't forget. Because when we do that, we divorce ourselves from the lives of our soldiers, we remove ourselves from the triangle, and we have to remain there. But we've got to get our soldiers to see something bigger than themselves. We've got to provide them purpose, direction, and motivation. That's what's required to inspire others to serve. And as they serve, they'll think of all that service requires and denotes of them. It'll have leaders that are committed to our profession, to our ethic, and to our people, all equipped with the right tools if we use H2F the right way. Soldiers face stressors that are ubiquitous. They are there, they are around, they are ever present in their lives. And for a soldier to have truly enduring resiliency, they need to build a strong core. That core is built on physical readiness and mental readiness and nutritional readiness and sleep readiness, my favorite, and spiritual readiness. And as they continue to work through the H2F program, individuals will be able to identify deficits in each of those domains. And as they explore and they practice and they work, they'll find their purpose and core values and their beliefs and their identity. And maybe even develop a little bit of life vision. The spiritual dimension draws on an individual's core to help them develop a sense of motivation, character, and integrity. But where does that connection to something bigger get lost? I ask myself every time I look at a high-risk tracker, every time I talk to my leaders and look at some of the challenges they're having, and it gets lost in the frictions of day to day. Everybody's got life going on. And sometimes when you're doing life, it gets tough. And if I ask for a show of hands, well, I might as well. If you ever had a tough day, raise your hand. Okay? Everybody's had tough days. But there's something that kept you moving forward in that day that helped you to see today where we stand now. I think that H2F can produce organizational and wellness benefits that will satisfy each soldier's need to be better. The Army recognizes that soldiers and leaders who are intrinsically motivated are more likely to be physically and mentally prepared. And what are they prepared for? I would like to think that we'll be better prepared to move forward into our futures and to stay focused on whatever tasks are at hand and really focused on what's next. That gets us thinking bigger, and that attitude, I think, is absolutely priceless. And you can't belie the fact that people that dream and press and believe that there's something bigger for them don't just do better. We've got to keep our people looking forward. We've got to keep our soldiers moving towards something for something. And I think that's really what purpose is. Purpose is moving towards something for something. I'm going to keep playing with that one, but I think that's about right. We've got to increase the sense of connectiveness. We've got to keep soldiers in those formations. I think that that'll produce more cohesive groups that have these shared values which they've internalized, leadership, and the warrior ethos, and a stronger sense of esprit de corps. I think it's essential that leaders set the standard for mental resilience in the promise of H2F. So my first encounter with an H2F-like mechanism, I was a young, rugged, read handsome, major in a unit. And I had hopped off a vehicle that it probably wasn't time for me to hop off of, but I hadn't been shot at lately, so I hopped off. My Achilles had other thoughts, and it stayed where I initially left the vehicle from. And I affectionately call getting back right climbing the mountain. And that was the first time as a major that I had to climb the mountain because I had torn my Achilles tendon and I had to fight my way back. But I was in a unit that I didn't want to be sent away from. And I wanted to stay there because I found in those people a certain simpatico. It was something that I'd always been looking for, and there were people in that unit that I looked up to and said, man, I don't want to be like that guy. I want to be better than that guy. But he's my aim. And so I climbed the mountain again, talking with my chaplain about I don't know if this is going to work out for me. Talking with the nutritionist by saying, hey, I had to go up a belt size. Trying to put my kit back on after I'd been hurt and thinking, this is a little bit snugger than it used to be. And having all the worries and concerns that our soldiers have. But that's where it started for me. But I found in a group of leaders, a nutritionist, a doc, a PT, a chaplain. I found people that were concerned about me getting back. So I made it back. Fast forward, now I'm a lieutenant colonel, same unit, same level of foolishness. This time I'm on a jump, and I go, hey, watch this. And I messed up my toggles as I'm coming in, thinking I'm going to be able to run this out. Well, you generally only try to run these things out when you're going against the wind. But as everybody else was standing around the circle in the middle, I said, I can make it. I can do this. And then the right Achilles goes on me. But what I don't know is that the right Achilles and the left hip, this is the start of my hip injury, which led me to a full hip replacement. But I had to climb the mountain again. And then imagine me as a 3-star general, a corps commander, doing the job that I absolutely wanted to do and loved to do. And I've got to climb the mountain again. And I can remember sitting in the Thor 3 facility with my trainer, Anya. Some of you all might know her at JBLM. And telling her, I'm climbing the mountain now, but it's dark. And it's so hard. It's so hard to come in here every day and be put through the paces. It's hard to have my soldiers see me with a cane. It's hard to think that I might not get back this time. But I made it back. The point is simply this. I knew that there were a group of professionals around me that cared that I made it back. I knew that there was a unit that needed me. I knew that if I put the effort in, I could get where I needed to be. So I put the effort in. And it's ongoing. And it's hard work sometimes. And things don't always move the way they should. And you get up 30 minutes earlier because you got a 20-minute stretching routine before you head off to PT. But I'm willing to do those things because this is where I want to be. H2F is going to give us the opportunity to give that to our soldiers, to have them have this deep sense of belonging and desire to want to stay with the formation. So in closing, I would tell you that H2F is more than a thing that is physical. H2F is a system to care and empower and equip soldiers to take charge of their own health and their own well-being. H2F is the footing upon which unit readiness for multi-domain operations in non-contiguous, far-flung areas of the world is going to be built. We don't want our people to survive. Surviving is not being ready. Surviving is not being deployable. We've got to get our soldiers the rest of the way, and part of that is providing the promise of what H2F is. I'm so proud to have had the opportunity to talk to you for a bit. I'm thankful for all that you all mean to our great Army across all the components. I'm thankful for the scientists and doctors and technicians and contractors and well-wishers that are in this room right now. And I thank my good Lord that I'm a soldier in the United States Army. I thank you all for being here again, and I thank you for the opportunity to share with you for a short time. Thank you. I'm going to take some questions.
There it is. Hey, sir, you mentioned the importance of leadership in executing H2F. Can you give some examples in which you've seen the right thing in terms of how leaders can use these programs to help our soldiers?
Yeah. So I think one of the things, first of all, I try to say this all the time because my mother told me that ignorance isn't bad. Willful ignorance is the crime. So my mom said that the way that you get around problems is you try to educate folks on things that they might be doing wrong because they just don't know. And I think that one of the things that I've seen work best is when our leaders go to the facility and they understand the different domains that are H2F. And they say, you know what, I'm going to go check in with this guy right here because he is in this sleep thing. I got to know something about sleep so I can coach it when they're not at the facility. So where it works best at Command Sergeant Major is when people are involved in the process. And again, I'm a firm believer in that if our leaders don't understand how this all works, they won't use it. They will not use it. I will tell you too, I'm going to stomp my foot on this one. Check your readiness days in your units, okay? If you're not treating that like training, and you're not using the 8-step training model, then you're doing readiness day wrong. Because if you're not training and certifying the leaders before they go speak into the lives of your soldiers, don't be surprised by the results that you see. So H2F is the same way. We've got to train and certify, especially at the first line. We've got to get those leaders into the facility and show them what's available so that they're wise about it. You know, we used to send people out to be master fitness trainers. You know, we used to send folks out, but they were always the dudes that were putting the cones in the ground and putting the tape out because they knew how a PT test was supposed to be administered. That's really about all that they were doing toward the end there, but what they were supposed to be doing is shaping the way we had our first engagement with our soldiers of the day. They were to shape that task, condition, standard. So I think that when this thing really works, when it catches on fire, is when our leaders at echelon go and check out what's available to their folks so that they know what they're looking for and they know what to do. We don't want them to diagnose injuries, but we want them to get them to the right place to get them right and ready. Thank you for the question, Command Sergeant Major Bowman. Any other questions? Yes, SMA. I would simply, I don't want more, but I want the Army to underwrite the things that we're doing right now. Listen, you can ask for more stuff, but more stuff is probably not coming. Stewardship implies that you're going to take what you have and use it to the best of your ability. Sergeant Major, we have shepherded the resources, the meager resources we've been given. And we've been good stewards of the things we've been given. But what's the onus is on me as a senior mission commander is to find out how to use what we have better. And I think we have. I think we have a solution. Working with Major General Klein and others, we think that we'll get this contract vehicle. I won't even speak on that. We think we're in the right place and would like for you to come see what we're doing and see how the Army can underwrite, support, and help us to sustain what we're doing. That's what I would ask for. Thank you, Sergeant Major of the Army.
Sir, Chaplain Andrew Meilenberg, the Old Guard, right here.
Wow.
Hey,
true story. Broke my glasses yesterday. Went to Lens Crafters to get a 1-hour set of glasses. I don't pick them up till today at 1500. True story. So I cannot see you. But I know you're there because I heard your voice. My ears are strong.
It's all right, sir. I'm not much to look at. As a combatant commander of PACOM-aligned unit, looking at the MDO fight, how do you see your team aligning towards an expeditionary implementation of H2F as we perfect that in garrison? Or maybe a better question is, how do you project that changing over the next couple of years as we look at large-scale combat operations?
Okay, so First Corps is the operational command that's assigned to Forces 4 for Indo-PACOM. So I'm a 3-star commander that's part of U.S. Army Pacific, which is the component command of Indo-Pacific Command. So it goes from Admiral Aquilino to General Flynn to me. So one of the things that we have to do is, the great thing about these boxes, truthfully, is they travel. They absolutely travel. But what we're counting on our leaders to do is, you know, there's these workouts that you can do in the gym, but there's also workouts that you don't need kit for that you can do. And I think we've got to try to get into this habit of, you know, you got to do PT all the time in order to sustain yourself. There are certain benefits, I don't know science, but I know endorphins flow when you do PT, right? Is that correct? All right. Whew. So we've got to get in this habit that fitness in H2F, and the dirty little secret in this thing that I find is, this is for life. If we can begin to shape habits in service that people carry on beyond service, then we have soldiers for life that are really soldiers for life. Because so once you start something, it takes, what, 21 days to start a habit, right? Any social scientists in here? But I think it takes about 21 days to start a habit. Is that right, Deidre? There you go. As I've always said, it takes 21 days to start a habit and 6 weeks to cement it. But that's what we've got to do, is we've got to make sure that when we leave home station, that we don't forget all the things that got us to the point where we were ready to deploy. And sometimes in the past, we've forgotten those things. Mission, 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 without any care, concern, or thought to how our people were really coping with the situations that we were in. And all 5 of those domains are absolutely necessary in order for us to truly call ourselves ready for the fights ahead, or any fight or challenge. Does that answer your question? Okay. that the music playing me off? Or did somebody just forget to silence their phone?
Good afternoon or morning, General. Brian McGuire, I'm down from Quantico. You mentioned meager resources, so this is just as good a time as any for the Marine Corps to ask a question. But what do you see as the relationship between the MWR assets, Army Wellness Centers, et cetera, and H2F?
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned that, sir. Thank you for the question. What we found at Joint Base Lewis McChord is that we want to try to help our Army by picking best in breed of our programs. And best in breed maybe means bringing some of these assets together so that we take best advantage of them. I think that there are certain MWR facilities, for example, our pools fall underneath MWR. And so we've got to make sure those pools are there to support our soldiers in their own wellness and their ability to work out. So it's got to all fall in line. When we take the Army Wellness Center, for example, they've got tools there that are important for us to use. But much like Command Sergeant Major Carnes, my Corps Sergeant Major, has brought together assets that exist for SRP, for our readiness. We brought those into one place. You used to have to do this basically a STAR course across the installation to prove yourself ready at the first level. So what we're trying to do is bring these assets closer together that they might be used. With our ranges in the Army, we could tell you what the utilization rates are by virtue of the fact that we've got this one known distance range that everybody's got to go to. I can tell you that it's being used a certain amount of time. With the programs offered at like the Wellness Center and certain MWR assets, if we don't bring them toward a hub, an organizing sort of function, then they won't be used. And they won't be used properly to the benefit of our soldiers. That's how we get around some of the shortfalls that we have, because we can bring the R2 folks over to do a quick pitch with folks to get leaders thinking differently. And we might do it at a different echelon, but that's additive, I think. But if we don't bring those things together, then we'll end up losing them because we're not using them.
Check, check.
Oh, there we
Hey,
go.
good morning, General.
Good morning.
I wanted to ask a question about your comment about not outsourcing leadership. We've met before. I was one of your company commanders in 7th ID. I was in 1-2. During the fielding of H2F and all through the first couple phases of the ACFT test. The question regarding leaders outsourcing or not outsourcing leadership comes from observations during that time period. We were, when it comes to NCO, when we took the ACFT, only one soldier in the unit scored the 600. You gave me that AM for the numbers. When it comes to outsourcing leadership, NCOs teach each other a lot. They teach each other artillery, they teach marksmanship. Senior NCOs teach junior NCOs medicine. But when it comes to fitness, it seems like this is a hot topic, it seems like we've outsourced that. And we're asking other civilian staff to come in and teach something which is, I think, well within the realm of what NCOs should be doing. You say I'm an officer, I have no dog in this fight. I was 14 years enlisted before I became an officer, so I grew up, late 90s Army when we were teaching each other fitness. What I'm not seeing in the H2F plan right now is a comprehensive fitness education across NCO, PDS, and OES that match, which would lead to, okay, I'm seeing some nodding heads around the room.
Stick around. You'll see that course here in a minute. That's going to come next brief.
Fantastic. All right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Do we have time for one more? One more question. Hey, Lance.
Real quick, sir.
Here's what I would say. I would tell Sean Bernabe, my good friend Sean Bernabe, I would say, hey, Sean, the key to this thing, there's two, resources, education. Sean, start educating your formation right now because it's coming. Start to build and instill in your formation this culture that says, we got to get this, and we got to get it strong. Find out how you can mirror what's there. So in the hospital, there are nutritionists and dietitians. There are PTs in the hospital. How can we best leverage those folk to get at some of these things? It's not going to be perfect, but few things in life are optimal. If life was optimal, Lance, you and I would have full heads of hair, okay? But seriously, though, I think that we have to fight our way, from this learned helplessness. Oh, it's coming. What are we going to do? We have to stop this now because the principles are sound. And you can get after these principles by just, Sergeant Major, how many hours of sleep did you get last night? About 8? Oh, that's good, Sergeant Major. Sleep readiness, done. You see what I'm saying? So this is why leaders have to be involved in this. Because if we wait for something to get there, we'll never get there. And we won't be ready for 2030. The example is what we're doing in terms of modernization. If we weren't modernizing now, if our Army didn't stick to the plan, by 2030 we wouldn't be there. We would have no hope in 2027, but we're so far along. If you look at the host of capabilities that the Army's just rolled out, or is going to in 23, 24 programs, never been done before. So, we're not waiting. We have to keep moving. That's what I would tell Sean. Sean, keep moving forward. Guess what you can do? Folks are more than happy to go TDY to Central Texas, I'm sure. But they'll get down there. North Carolina boy. But they'll get down there and they can talk to him about how to set the stage. What I would tell him simply is, find your heralds for the approach of this thing that's coming and make sure that you set up. That would be your legacy, Sean. Set the stage for this to come to the place. Start looking now at facilities. Find those best-in-breed things that you can do right now to ensure that you don't have a slow start. Matter of fact, I'm going to send Sean that note today. I'll get that out to him. That's a great question, Lance. Force-com surgeon. Listen, my time is done. I'll be around here for the rest of today, and I've got to fly out tomorrow to Leavenworth, Kansas. But again, thank you for your time and attention and for humoring this little kid from North Carolina, the Sergeant Major's son, as I got to speak and share with you today for a little bit. Have a great day.